Thanks so much for joining for Data, a Breakthrough Discuss, a cosmic tapestry for exploration. We've got a much shorter day today, but it's packed full of good stuff. So glad to have you here. Two items. The first, there's been news this morning of a global IT outage that's affected a lot of American flights and probably more to come. So all United, Delta, and American Airlines flights today are cancelled or they're grounded, which for some of you might affect your travel plans. We're monitoring the situation and we'll make sure that you're accommodated if your flights change for tomorrow, etc. If you need anything, just come and see me and I'll forward you on to our travel representatives and dear colleagues who are up against it. And the second thing is the Bodleian Library reception for tonight. We're at capacity for 200 and they're very strict on that. But if anyone is planning not to attend that reception and would like to kind of forfeit their ticket, then we can reallocate those accordingly. So just, let me or anyone on the team know and we will thank you in advance. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the head of the Sub-Department of Astrophysics, the Department of Physics at the University of Oxford, Professor Rob Fender.
Thank you very much, Kieran, and good morning to you all. I hope you're all feeling energized and excited after a fantastic day yesterday. So as Kieran said, my name is Rob Fender. I'm the head of astrophysics here at the University of Oxford. So I'm welcoming you on this second day to Oxford and to this meeting on behalf not just of myself, but on behalf of all of astrophysics research here at Oxford. Some of what's being covered here at this conference overlaps very clearly with the kind of mainstream astrophysics, which we do here in Oxford, and is familiar in its form and in its content to many of us. However, much of it is beyond the subject areas that we would normally find ourselves attending talks at. For example, yesterday there was the fantastic talk on paleontology. I would rarely have found the time in my schedule to attend such a talk, and yet it was fantastic and inspiring, and I think we should do more of that. And I think the format of this kind of conference is an excellent thing, and there should be more of that. I'm now going to abuse my position here as the introducer of Day 2 to share with you two anecdotes which I hope you'll find relevant to this meeting. So the first one came to me yesterday when we were having talks about the enormous data volume of transients which are going to land with the arrival of Rubin and also other facilities such as the Square Kilometre Array, and how we're going to handle those data volumes and how we're going to find the most exciting sources in that enormous data volume. So just over 20 years or so ago, along with my friends and colleagues, Ben Stappers and Ralph Ayers, I was the co-lead of the Transients Key Science project on the LOFAR radio telescope. And at that time, just before we started getting the data from the completed telescope, people were already beginning to discuss with us how it was going to be a tidal wave of data, how we were going to be drowning in data, and how were we, as a Transients Key Science project, going to deal with that. And our response at the time was, great, it's going to be like Christmas. We're going to have transients falling out of our ears. It's going to be amazing. The reality is that we were overwhelmed with data. We were drowning in data, and because perhaps these were new times of a big transformation in the data volume, perhaps because we didn't have enough foresight and preparation, we were not able to extract all of the transients and all of the interesting science from those data. And even now, people with better developed techniques are able to extract transients from those data that we missed. We're essentially not able to find everything that was in those data. We were genuinely overwhelmed. So I was encouraged yesterday and at other meetings I've been to over the last few years to hear about the intense preparation which is going on to prepare for the vast tide of optical transients which will come from Rubin and other facilities. And I do believe I have more optimism now that people will actually be able to handle that tide. But it's not going to be trivial. I'm sure the people working in this field understand this. It's not going to be trivial, and you will be overwhelmed with data, and you will need to be very smart about how you deal with those data. The second anecdote I want to share is that during the period 2021 to 2023, myself, Andrew Simeon, Jamie Drew, who can't be here this meeting, Pete Warden, and my boss, Ian Shipsey, head of physics at Oxford, had many meetings and discussions, which ultimately led to Breakthrough Listen relocating its global headquarters here to Oxford in September last year. This is a large part of the reason you're here, so if you're having a good time, I'll take a small amount of the credit. If you're not, well, Pete's there, so. Often these meetings would segue into dinners, at one of which the question went around the table quite late at night and was asked to each of us, what do you think will be the most important astronomical discovery in the next 1 or 2 decades? Now, I want to preface my answer to this question by informing those of you who don't know me that I spend most of my research time pointing radio telescopes at black holes. I don't work in the area of astrobiology or SETI. However, I found myself answering, and sincerely, that I think that the big discovery, the biggest discovery in the next 10 or 20 years will be the discovery of life beyond our solar system. And I think that probably will be the biggest discovery, the biggest scientific discovery of all time. I think, as several people said yesterday, there is a realistic chance that during our lifetimes, we will be the generation, or you will be the generation who find life beyond our solar system. And I think that would be an extraordinary discovery. I meant it when I said it then, and I mean it now. So even though I don't really work in many of the fields being discussed here, I'm with you in this journey, and I really hope that people succeed. So, okay, have a fantastic second day here at Breakthrough Discuss. I'd like to contradict my supreme leader, that is the Vice-Chancellor of the university, and say that it is not obligatory to join in the KLE tonight. So just bear that in mind. And I'd like to please allow me to introduce Phil Diamond, the director of the SKA Observatory, who I believe is going to appear as a giant disembodied head on the screen shortly. Thank you.
Well, I'm presuming that's the case. Yes, a bit disconcerting to see that I am that giant disembodied head there. I hope you're enjoying the meeting. I'd listened to several of the talks yesterday, and as Rob has just said, they were excellent talks, and it's good for us to hear things somewhat outside of our field sometimes. Very sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm there in spirit. And as Rob has just indicated, it's clear that the search for life beyond Earth is a key scientific subject for the 21st century and for the coming decades. Very exciting subject as well. And it is clear that that community, and especially the Breakthrough Listen team, have great interest in using the Square Kilometre Array Observatory, which I think is fantastic. And it would be wonderful from my perspective, and I'm sure from yours, if what Rob just said about that late night conversation turned out to be something that was uncovered by the SKA. What I would like to just tell you is that that is going to be, I think, an entirely possible goal to pursue, because within the SK Observatory, we're now 3 years into our 7-year construction program. A lot of the infrastructure for both the SK low and mid telescopes is now in place. Indeed, the prime contractors for the infrastructure will be withdrawing from site at the end of next year. So that gives you a sense of how far along we are already. And the first mid-dish and low antennas are now in place, which is really pleasing to see, and fantastic milestones for the team and for the community that's waiting for SKA. I was very interested yesterday, and I followed closely the talks on AI and machine learning. SKA data volumes and their complexity are, as Rob has just indicated, happened with him a decade or more ago. They're going to be enormous. The total data volume when we're fully operational will be 10 times that coming from the high luminosity LHC, and will really dwarf anything we've experienced in astronomy before. But the techniques that were being discussed yesterday, I think, will be essential for the science community to maximize the science that they extract from the SKA. So it was educational for me to listen in on those talks. As I said, I wish I could have been there in person. I wish you well for the day coming up, the very interesting talks coming up, and I will be dipping into those as and when I can. And I'm sorry I won't be at the reception at the Bodleian this evening. It should be a grand event. So goodbye from me, from SKA headquarters, and wish you all the best for the day. Thank you.